Hello and welcome to Bùth Bharraigh's Virtual Learning Exchange. This is the first in our series of 3 virtual community learning exchanges supported by Inspiralba and the Scottish Community Alliance. Make sure to check out the case study alongside this video for more information.
And thanks very much for giving me this opportunity to do this. I'm just going to share my screen. Can everybody hear me okay? Yeah, okay. So this is Bùth Bharraigh. We're a community shop and community hub on the Isle of Barra. A wee bit of history. This popped up on Twitter the other day, you know, how it started and how it's going, and I thought that would be a really interesting to add in. So we started doing island markets, and that started with a producer group way back in 2000. But then the markets got a lot more popular, and we now have a shop that's in a fairly rundown building in the centre of Castleby. That's open 7 days a week, or 6 days in the winter, and sells, so route to market for local producers, and it sells items that you can't find on the island but people want, such as whole foods and books and arts and crafts equipment. So we're currently going through the asset transfer process to try and get the building from the council so that we can upgrade it. So that's just a rough potted history of who we are and how we got there. So I'm going to show you a little video now that gives you a flavour of the shop. So that's our little video. I suppose the first thing that struck us in March was a massive amount of uncertainty. We're not a grant funded organisation at all, we're completely self-sustaining, and we make 70% of our income between May and September, and that's what keeps us going all year. So in March 2020, our bank account's usually at the lowest possible that it is, and we're looking forward to a summer, lots of visitors to the island, to make some money for both our producers and for the shop. So there was a massive amount of uncertainty when COVID hit, and we weren't really sure what was going to happen or how it was all going to work out. The first thing we had to consider was our volunteers. We have 2 members of staff. We were just about to employ our 3rd member of staff in March 2020, but obviously that was put on hold. So we've got quite a lot of volunteers. A lot of them are older ladies, and some have health conditions. We had a 14 and a 16-year-old just start with us at the beginning of March, and their families had health conditions within that. So we put all of our volunteers off, and initially it was just the 2 members of staff that worked during the first month of COVID. We obviously did a risk assessment. Now we are a community hub, so we had a tea and coffee area, and we had a box of toys for the kids. So obviously the tea and coffee area, that was made into a staff area, where we had a bit of a larger area to distance, and we could still speak to people, take phone calls, process stock coming in and everything. And the toys they've gone into a cupboard and they've not come out yet. We had to get a screen fitted. We had to put the spacing markers out on the floor. You saw that. And kindly, the yellow and black stickers, they were given to us by a printing firm in Uist. So they phoned up lots of different companies and gave them the stickers. So that was really nice. We kept the door open all the time because a local doctor told us that airflow would really help. So although it was quite cold, that was really important, and we upped our cleaning regime to clean a lot more often, and what we cleaned with, disinfectant and everything, to hopefully rid any trace of COVID. So then furlough came out, and of course with all the uncertainty and not knowing what was going to happen, the staff were furloughed. The only funding we got was the furlough and the £10,000 that most companies got at the beginning. So the £10,000, that just covered the shortfall for April. And we got some new volunteers. We got some younger, fitter volunteers that took on the running of the shop throughout this time. We also restricted the amount of time that we were open to fit in or help those volunteers, so it wasn't too much of a burden for them. Other services we provided, we were the first shop on the island to provide a delivery service, and also there was a need for books because the library was shut, and things like jigsaws. We consulted with our local doctor. We had the books in quarantine, and then they were delivered to people's doors. And same with the delivery, everything was delivered in cardboard boxes. We made sure that we stood back from the doorstep when people were picking up the deliveries and everything like that. So that was all done in conjunction with the doctors to make sure that we were carrying out the correct procedures. Also, with the shop having so many producers of all sorts of different things, there's quite a lot of skills there, and other people were put off work too. So we started making face masks for the community, and you saw them in the little clip. And we've given away hundreds of face masks to people in the community and visitors. Visitors, we asked them to put a little donation in the visitor donation thing. But yes, so that gave people something to do, and it also raised the profile of the Boo. And some people that had never been into the shop were coming to get their free face masks, so that was good. Of course, the Boo is a big meeting place as well, and all our volunteers, they come and they enjoy meeting people, so we made sure that we phoned them to check that they were okay. For some of them, we did shopping for them as well, so they got a better service than just deliveries from the Boo. We would go around the Co-op and other places and get things for them to deliver them to the door to make sure they were okay. We also did online crochet classes, and the 2 young volunteers that started in March, they were some of the pupils that joined in with the online crochet, and that was really fun. But we had also had people who had connections to the island but were as far away as Cornwall. And there was, I think at the busiest stage, we had about 5 classes running. And part of it really was just having a good chat, linking people and spending time with people, and then we'd get into a bit of crochet. But I'm sure some of my crochet ladies will tell you that the chat was more important, or the important bit. We also, last year, we did a Christmas tree in Castlebay, and as soon as the COVID thing came, we thought, well, do you know, it's a really good little project that people can do at home and keep them busy, something to work towards for Christmas. So people were knitting and crocheting squares for this Christmas tree this year. So this is a picture of last year's, and hopefully we'll get 2, and that's just the shop in the background of the picture. So we're going to have 2 Christmas trees this year, and we do have enough squares now for that, so that's good. Just going through my notes. As part of what we do, we also deliver tourism services, and this was really important because everything was up in the air. People didn't know what was open, what was closed, so I started doing this list on Facebook, and that was really important, keeping up to date with all the businesses. This was really important sort of after the 15th of July, when visitors were allowed back to the island. So we were keeping on top of everything that was running, the bike hire, the trips to Mingley, the kayaking, the sports centres, everything, and all the cafes and restaurants, the pubs, everything, and we would update it on a real regular basis so people knew what to expect. And that was a really important thing, both for the businesses themselves and also for the visitors to the island. We also do an accommodation booking service, and this was really important because not all the accommodation providers were open, but tourists wouldn't necessarily know what was open and what was shut. So they could contact us and we would try and find accommodation for them, and 9 times out of 10 it was no problem. Also, workers coming to the island, like to fix the turbine and to do various other things, they needed accommodation. And in some cases it was getting accommodation that wasn't in use open so that they could still come and they could do their jobs, and that was really important. So yeah, the accommodation part, and latterly there was people coming where they were booked into one house for 2 households, and now of course that's not the restrictions, it's 1 household per house, so we had to find extra accommodation for those people as well. And that's the up-to-date list of all the businesses and things to do. And also what we would do is information came through from the tourism organisations. We would send that out to the campsites and the B&Bers and everybody that was still in operation, so that they had all the up-to-date information as well. And we dealt with a lot of general inquiries from visitors, because then the hotels and B&Bs just automatically sent them to us. So this year it's really firmed up our position as the tourist information service on the island, which has been good. So there has been some positives of COVID, and I always think it's really important to look at the positives and what we can get out of this, because it's not been an easy time. So we were able to ascertain the community spend through the summer months, which we hadn't really been able to do before. So we didn't have any visitors for the end of March, April, May, June. So we know now exactly how much the community spend in our shop and how much is visitor spend, which is really, really useful. The sales of the whole foods and flour increased. Luckily we have to buy flour by the ton, so we got a ton of flour at the beginning of March, and usually it takes us 8 months to get through a whole ton of flour. We were through this ton of flour in 1 month, and we had to get another ton in, which was just amazing. I mean, it was just crazy. People were buying pasta and lentils and all sorts of things, and people were experimenting too, which was really fun. So we get most of our supplies from Highland Whole Foods in Inverness, and they were really good. And always when we get a new order in, we'd get something different, something new that people could try out. We found that when visitors did come to the island, they were really making a conscious effort to buy local, which was really, really nice. Also, we did pick up, our internet sales picked up, and the website is something that I'm working on currently to update it and upgrade it a bit more for this winter. But the visitors were really, really supportive of the local producers on the island, which was really, really nice. Also, because of course Garavagatua, which is the community garden, they were shut, all of their produce came to the shop, and we sold it through the shop. So that meant that we were able to support them. And another partnership was with the Heritage Centre. The Heritage Centre was shut, but if anybody wanted any heritage type questions, then I would get in touch with them, and we would make sure that the people got to speak to who they needed to speak to. So COVID as well, it really cemented our position within the community. And I think it was really an important year for us. We were doing lots for the community, and we were open all the time, and we had lots of products that the community could buy, so it was really important. And also the importance of our local economy, our importance to the local economy has been recognised by people like the council. I think maybe one of our issues is that we're in an old building that some people want knocked down, and we're fighting for it. So communities can be funny things, you can't please everybody all of the time, but COVID has really elevated our position, which has been really positive for us.